you and test you the depth of your knowledge. What we will do today, I will complete that chapter, and in our next class on Monday, because as per schedule you have, it's the last class today, okay, in this week. Again you have on Monday. So Monday one class, whole class I will reserve for MCQs. All unit 1 MCQs we will complete. In unit 1 you have all chapter 1, chapter 3, chapter 4, chapter 5 and 7. All we will complete, and then we will discuss important questions, and then we will move on to unit 2. So let me complete unit 1, so that we will have some concrete information uh, about this. So let me begin with it's small chapter, we can do it. Okay students, I am presenting the screen now. Today I would be using the textbook, because there are some good diagrams and big diagrams which I may not be drawing on one note. So that's the reason. Let us begin. Cloud Sandeep Bhaumik. This is a last chapter in unit 1, resource pooling. Resource pooling. What do you mean by resource pooling? Can anyone give me any example which you implement in your real life, where you pool the things, or anyone else where which uses this pooling and you might have come across? Think about pooling. Okay, I will give you one hint. These days, when you call on cab and um, on this Uber or Ola, you did you hear this term?
Yes,
Pooling.
ma'am.
What is the meaning of that?
Kind of shade.
Yes. Suppose if you have to go from one location to another location, um, from Nizam College to Usmania University, you have to go. You can book cab only for you, only for you. Then you have to bear the total expense, the fare. You have to pay the complete fare if you are booking on individual basis. And if you go for pooling, there is an option, pool a cab. Um, then what happens? Yeah, that driver will take 3 4 passengers depending on the capacity of the vehicle, carry 3 or 4 passengers, and then uh, the fare will be reduced. If you have to pay 100 rupees, you may have to pay only 30 40 or 50 depending on the cab and depending on the number of passengers. So this, the same concept is used in cloud pooling. Pooling means what? You are accumulating multiple resources here. All resources are there. And then these resources can be shared among several users. This is sharing. And provisioning is, allotting a particular resource from the pool to a particular user. This chapter is all about that. Pooling, accumulating, gathering. Sharing means one resource can be this particular resource can be used by multiple users, and allocating of this resource to user 1 or user 2 or user 3 depends on the time of access, request, and if it is shareable, if it can be used in shareable mode, all three can use it simultaneously. If it is exclusively to be used, then one at a time they use. So it's all about this one. So resource sharing is also an important feature of cloud computing, like virtualization, which is the key enabler for cloud computing. Resource sharing is important feature, and any resource component from the pool of resources. Pool of resources. Another example I will give you. You will find taxi stand. What is a taxi stand? Where all taxis will stand. There are so many taxis. So this is nothing but pool of taxis. Like that, you have pool of resources, and they can serve one particular user or application, and it may not be dedicatedly used by particular user. It may be used in sharing mode. Okay, so resource pooling, let us look at this one. This is the figure that denote the pooling. You have virtual servers. Why are we calling this virtual servers? Because you are using virtualization on top of these physical servers, and users are connected to these, not here. Users are not connected here. Users are connected to virtual servers. This is the point. This is the connecting point. Okay, students. And then this virtual server at one particular time may be allocated to multiple users. One server means it obviously it has a large capacity to serve multiple users. So there are many users using, like your Unix server. If you remember in our lab, there is one Unix server, and there are almost 30 to 40 clients. And these all the clients are connected to this server, and this server has a capacity to serve all. And simultaneously, this server is executing the queries of all the clients connected to it. The same thing happens here. You have virtual servers. This is nothing but pooling of physical and virtual servers. Here you have pooling of physical servers. On top of it, you have virtualization, and then you have virtual servers, and then uh, users access them. Resource pooling architectures. Let us look at resource pooling architectures. For instance, if you have in your taxi stand like these 4 rows where taxis will come and stand, this is one architecture. You may have another architecture where you have in this manner. Okay, taxis can stand in a vertical form. This is horizontal form. So you have an architecture. When you have multiple components, you have an architecture. How are you arranging it? That is um, the whole idea about this. And computer server pool. Computer or server pool. What is this? This is a pool, means collection of servers or computers. Okay, and in this The primary component is a computer or a server. This is a one computer or server. Like this is a pool of computer or server. Okay. And then storage pool. Storage pool means what? Here you have memories. The primary component in this pool, students, if I say auto stand, you will find all autos. If I say taxi stand, you will find all taxis. If I say computer pool, you will find all the computers. If I say storage pool, you will find all the storage devices, which are hard disks. So you have disks, one disk, two disk, three disk. This is pool of storage components. Okay, look at here. We have different types. This is virtual server pool, servers. Here these are processor pools, means you have multiple processors available in this pool. Here you have the entire set. You have processor, you have main memory, you might have disk, you have um, other components that are enclosed or encompassed in this cabinet. This is memory pool. These are like RAM chips. You have RAMs. This is RAM 1, this is RAM 2. And then when you collect and combine them, you get memory pool for RAM. If you have a memory pool of disk, you will have all hard disks. This is resource pool comprising of three sub pools. What are the sub pools? You have server pool, processor pool, memory pool. Okay, then you have okay, students, can you name few other pools? Anything else which you can put in the form of collection? Network pool. This is storage pool, disks, memory pool, RAM, processor pool, CPUs. Network pools, all resources, networking related resources can be grouped together to form network pool. Like what are networking devices? Switches, bridges, routers, and um, different ways of configuration. That is network pool. Okay, example, you take router. When you have all the routers, router is a device of, router is which device? Networking device. So okay, here it is given different kinds of physical networking devices that are available in virtualized mode for building their own network. Instead of buying your own router, what you can do, you can use virtualized router provided by the cloud. And then why it is not okay. Next, these are what are now. Let us quickly. note down the resource pooling architecture. Resource pooling. Resources pooled, grouped together architectures. Okay, architectures. So what are they? First one, computer or server pool. Second one, storage pool. Third one, network pool. And fourth one, hierarchical organization. What you can do, you can create a data center and you can organize in a hierarchical form. Hierarchical pool will have some nested pool architecture. First you have a pool of servers. These are pool of servers, and then within each server you have pool of processors. Then this is what hierarchical. First you have server pooling, then you have the processor pooling. This is in hierarchical format, so it is known as hierarchical organization. Okay, next, commoditization of the data center. Commoditization means what? What do you mean by commodity? We already discussed. Can you name any commodity which you use in your daily life? What do you mean by commodity? Students, find out the meaning of commodity and tell me and give me the example. You all might have phones in your hands. No one? Okay, at least in chat window. Chat window, put out. Okay, I will only tell now. Like everyday, daily usage products which you get in supermarket, that is known as commodity product. And that will be in more number. And that will be that, okay, there is one chat. Grocery, very good. Grocery is commodity. You go to supermarket and buy a huge amount of packets. You will get um, all soaps and all toothbrush, toothpaste, so much that all comes under commodity. Commodity means what? They are arranged, they are placed on these racks. You go, any item which you can find and put in your trolley or in your basket, you take this and put, take this and put in this, take this basket to the counter, and then take out item 1, means these are items, item 1, item 2. Then what the cashier will do, will say that item 1 cost 10 rupees, item 2 cost 15 rupees, total you have to pay 25 rupees. You pay 25 rupees and bring the items to your home. That is commodity. The goal here is to make computing resources as commodity. Means all computing resources are arranged here in these racks. All you have computing resources. You connect, you use for 1 hour, and for 1 hour it is prices for instance 50 rupees. So 50 rupees you pay, you get the bill, you pay online through Google Pay or something, and then done. Your work is done. How you buy a milk packet? Bring it and use it. Same similar manner, you are buying a compute resource, you're buying memory, you're buying storage in the form of commodity. That is uh, commoditization. Commoditization of the data center. I already showed the data center. Once again, I will show you data center. In Hyderabad also, we have got data centers. Images. Look at this. Amazon has built a huge data center in Hyderabad also. Look at this. This is data center. These are racks. And in these racks, you will find all compute resources. You can find CPUs pooled. You can find disks. You can find memory, networking devices. Look at here. This is another way. Same racks you will find. This is a data center. I look at here. This very crudest form. How many uh, cables are there and how many devices have been put up together. Look at this. This you can call as server pooling. See different devices. Look at here. Isn't it looking like a supermarket where you have all the items placed in racks? Here you have all the processors and other devices placed in racks, and then physically you don't access. Through virtualization you access, and then you pay. Students, am I sharing the screen or not? Are you able to see? Yeah, yeah. Okay, fine. So, look at here. Please try to understand this very important point, commoditization. Like a item, like a commodity, means available easily and in less cost. This is uh, okay. This is an example of hierarchical organization of pooling. This pool A, in pool A you have uh, different pools further. Okay. Then you have standardization, automation, and optimization. What do you mean by this? Commodity resource components of a pool may come with various architectural standards. So, can you tell me, you go to supermarket 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Do you find the organization and arrangement of items in a similar manner? No, right? It all depends on that supermarket owner or the manager who will arrange or organize the items according to the need, requirement, convenience. But if you go for standardization, standardization means what happens? Everywhere you should have same arrangement. That is standardization. Automation means what? Automating the deployment, resource deployment, like a virtual machine instantiation, and accessing, and optimization. Automation, mm, you don't have. Okay, let me again give you example of supermarket and explain these three terms. Okay, there are 5 supermarkets. mm, Groceries, you will find groceries, you'll find you know clothes, you'll find this um, footwear, you will find cosmetics, you will find soft toys, so many things you will find in supermarket. On first floor, typically you will find groceries and everyday commodity. In all five, you may find groceries on the first floor or ground floor, but then their arrangement may differ. Dairy products and all. They when you enter, you may find first the rack of pulses. In another store, you may find the racks of soaps, like that. And in some supermarkets, for every rack, not rack, for every section, you may find a person, salesperson. Okay, and what happens? This person will come to you and ask you, what are you looking for? In few supermarkets, you don't find a person at all. You yourself have to go find out the item, put it in your basket, go to the cashier, pay everything you have to do. And then in some supermarkets you get more discount. In some supermarkets you get less discount. These are the variations which you find when you go to purchase everyday items. Now let us come back to our technology, which is our cloud computing commoditization. So in that, you have cloud vendor 1, cloud vendor 2, cloud vendor 3, and so on. And if they all follow the same architectures for same devices, then it is said to have standardization. Same here, architecture is same here, here, here. And then automation means if you request for a virtual machine instance, if a person is available who can allot you the um, requested resource, then it is not automation. It is like person is allocating, but there may be some programs written which can automatically, based on your requirement, allocate the resources and start the billing, metering, and give you the bill. Everything is automated. You don't have to have any person to do any of the task for this allocation and access and billing of the resource. That is automation. Optimization, for instance, Amazon Web Services, AWS, may provide 100 rupees per hour. Google Cloud may provide 90 rupees per hour. Microsoft may provide 120 rupees per hour. There are different, rates may change. So optimized means the best one. So you may have optimization in the form of resource usage, in the form of cost. So that is uh, about standardization, automation, and optimization. Here you have high performance in this figure. You have high performance computing system, specialized costly hardware, commodity cheaper hardware. Commodity always will be cheap because it is required and essential uh, item. So it should be available, it should be made available cheaply. If it is very costly, we can't use it. So commodity items now on cloud, we get processor time, we get memory, we get disks, we get network, everything at a very, very cheaper rate, so that they have turned out to be commodities for us, like our rice, pulses, wheats, and cereals, and like they are commodities for us. Now our computing devices have also become commodity. This is traditional system. In traditional system, it is very costly because it is not on pooling and sharing basis. Now here it is pooling and sharing basis, cloud data center. So it is very, very cheap. Okay, resource sharing. What is the advantage of resource sharing? Mm, this is the figure for the standardization. You have resource pool of commodity components. On top of it, you have virtualization, a layer which is known as hypervisor or virtual machine monitor. And on this, you may have standardization, you may not have, and these things, automation and optimization. Okay, resource sharing. Can you even tell me the advantage of sharing? At least put in the chat window. Sharing means using multiple users using one particular resource is sharing, resource sharing. So what do you mean by multi-tenancy? Multi-tenancy is a property of sharing in which different consumers, which are known as tenants, uh, are isolated from each other. You may find some places where they let out um, mm, houses or rooms, or for instance rooms. On one floor you may have 10 rooms, on another floor you have 10 rooms. So how many tenants are there total? There are 20 tenants. And if every room has its own kitchen, washroom, then all the tenants are separated from each other. Okay, there is nothing common, they are isolated. In this room, inside, both the things are built, so they use that. There actually on a single floor there are multiple tenants, however they are being isolated because they have got their own um, resources. So that is multi-tenancy. Multi-tenancy means you have multiple consumers, which are also known as tenants. Okay, and then they are isolated. They are not interfering with each other. Look at here. What is the philosophy behind multi-tenancy? You have a resource, you have ownership free sharing and temporary allocation. Because of these two features, multi-tenants are possible. Every tenant will use a resource for a short period of time, for a time which is uh, useful for that tenant or consumer, and this resource is not being owned by anyone. They have to pay it and use it. No tenant owns this resource. So this is about multi-tenancy. And you have types of tenancy. Tenants of a system, which are nothing but consumers. You have multi-tenant, in which they can come from outside or inside. Means outside or inside means what? Um, Now I am using um, at Nizam College ID, right? And some of you are using Gmail, some of you are using Yahoo. When I am sending the invite to attend a class at a particular time, we all are belonging to different domains. Means uh, out of Nizam, if anyone is having email out of Nizam College domain, then they are outsiders of this domain. And if suppose all the students have been given the ID with this domain, then all are from inside the organization. means all tenants are from the same organization, otherwise they are from the different organization. That way, uh, you may have within an organization, you may have multiple departments, and if particular resource is accessed by the same department, okay, then it is insider multi-tenant. And if you have from outside a department or outside an organization, it depends at which granularity you're talking about. Outsider means who, whether it is outside organization or outside department. So they are outsiders. But then the whole idea is, the gist of tenancy is that it should allow multiple consumers or tenants from inside or from outside, and they may be related, they may not be related, but they should not interfere with each other, and they should have their own um, existence, their own usage. So, um, as we know that we have um, public cloud, you have private cloud. What is public cloud? The cloud which is developed on top of internet, which anyone can access, is public cloud. If you have a separate network and on top of the network you are creating a cloud, then it is a private cloud and it is unique to your organization. Others, outsiders cannot access. So multi-tenancy is possible in public, in private, but in private, outsiders may not access, be able to access. Okay, tenancy at different levels of cloud services. Can anyone tell me what is IaaS, what is PaaS, what is SaaS? Yes, can anyone tell me IaaS, PaaS, SaaS?
Platform as a service.
Mm-hmm. That is PaaS.
Software as a service.
Yeah, that is SaaS.
Infrastructure as a service.
That is IaaS. Very good. So you have different cloud services, and tenancy is possible at all the levels. You can have multiple tenants for infrastructure, multiple tenants for platform, multiple tenants for software. So this is tenancy at different level of cloud services. Okay, not only as layer, you can have multi-tenancy at PaaS and SaaS layer as well. Okay, so far is everything clear? You have any doubt in resource pooling and resource sharing? Now we are moving on to resource provisioning. Resource provisioning means what? What do you mean by provision? What is the general meaning of provision? General meaning of provision means giving, allocating, allotting. Resource provisioning means what? Allocating resource. Which resource? Cloud resource. To whom? To the consumers. And who will provide cloud resources? Cloud vendors or cloud service providers. What are the examples? Amazon Web Service, Google Compute Cloud, Microsoft Azure. These are cloud services. So, provisioning, I mean allocating. How do you allocate a resource to a consumer? So the automatic way here, automatic way. Automatic way means what? The resource provisioning means allocation. Um, happens directly to the consumer or the application. Consumer asks for a resource, cloud provider create appropriate number of virtual machines depending on the requirement, and then allocate the physical resources accordingly. This provisioning is an automatic process, and by applying artificial intelligence, it has been designed and known as automatic resource provisioning. What is the need of now artificial intelligence in this? Suppose I am the user, user 1, you are the user, user 2, another user is there, user 3. So I am a faculty. I may need, for instance, more time, more resources because I have to do experiments. And you, as a PG level student, may require relatively less compared to me, and school students may require lesser than you. So, what happens? This is based on the mm, type of the user. The cloud provider use artificial intelligence and determine if suppose today he is using 1 hour, perhaps the next time he may use 1 hour or 1.5 hour, like that. And for school, today if a school student has used only for 10 minutes, and probably next time they may use for 15 minutes or 20 maximum. Like that, determination of this can be done by using some artificial intelligence techniques, and it is absolutely automated, automatic process, and known as automatic resource provisioning. Okay, okay. Now, well, this is a very important phrase. Please remember this: service level agreement. Whenever there is a provider of a service, there is a consumer of a service. There is a agreement. What is the agreement? Well, if I take an example of student and college, you are a student. Okay, there is college. Um, college is providing certain services. What services? In the form of education and degree. And student wants education as well as degree. So student gets enrolled in a college. Means take admission. There are certain rules or protocols to be followed by both the parties, and there is some service level agreement. What is the service level agreement? Service, which service is being provided? Education service. So what is the agreement? Agreement is that college will provide faculty and arrange classrooms and arrange a lab, and there is a syllabus defined, and this is service level agreement of college. What is the service level agreement of student? Student will agree that I will regularly attend the classes, I will practice the labs, and I will attend the exams, internal exams and external exams. that that there is some contract, between the parties. Not even in this education environment, wherever it is, this sort of agreement exists. You understand? And that is the base of the relationship between two parties who are uh, taking service, providing service, and are involved in this service industry. Service level agreement is a contract between cloud provider, and cloud consumer. Cloud consumer specifies how much hour. Suppose if I am taking for um, 1 month service, I have a project to submit and I require cloud services. So what I am doing here, I am requesting cloud provider to provide me with a service for a period of 1 month, and I specify that every day I might use between 1 and 2 hours of compute resource, means processor, and I might use 100 to 150 GB of RAM and disk. For instance, these are my requirements as a consumer. I specify this to the provider. What provider has to ensure that these resources are made available to these consumer, and consumer of course is ready to pay for these resources, and cloud provider states that the pricing is very reasonable and best in the market, for instance. So these things is nothing but an agreement. So this you create an agreement in a form of a document which is known as SLA, service level agreement document. Okay, so the role of a SLA is huge. So resource provisioning approaches. Can you tell me, this one is static? These are static requirements or dynamic requirements? Can anyone tell me please quickly? Whatever I have stated here, are these static or dynamic? Students, are you all there? Are you all online? Respond in chat window. Okay, platform, software. Very good, Sagar. Tell me what is dynamic and what is static. If I conduct a class randomly every day, suppose if I am available at 10 o'clock today, I conduct class at 10 o'clock. If I am available at 2 o'clock, I take at 2 o'clock. Otherwise, sometimes 8 p.m., sometimes 6 p.m. What is this? Is static or dynamic? In chat at least, students. Very good. This is dynamic. Means timings are being changed every day based on the availability and convenience and other factors. If I take every Monday at 10 o'clock, every Tuesday at 11 o'clock, every Wednesday at 11 o'clock, every Thursday at 10 o'clock, for instance, what is this, static or dynamic? Yes, anyone? Student? Yes, very good. This is static because it is almost fixed. Yet it's not fixed. It's dynamic. It's not fixed, it's flexible. You are changing it every day. And this is predictable. You can predict Means all the student knows that on Monday I have at 10 o'clock. Whereas in this scenario, students may not predict. This is unpredictable. You may not know when class happens because it's dynamic. Okay. So when you are allocating resources, you have two uh, ways in which you can allocate, static or dynamic. Sometimes we feel like studying a lot, right? And then we require a processor, we require memory to do experiments, to do lab work. Early morning, that day you feel like studying. So what do? You ask for the resources from cloud provider. Or if there is a person who is very consistent, that person every day at 5 p.m. uses cloud for 1 hour, then this in this scenario cloud provider cannot predict, and in this scenario this is unpredictable. In this scenario cloud provider can predict because it is static. So consumers get the services through static mode or dynamic mode. And what is static approach? Static approach is um, generally the requirements will not change. In dynamic approach, requirements changes often. So essentially, this table gives you the um, difference between static and dynamic provisioning. This resource allocation is made only once. Why? Because it is static. It is not going to change. Here, as many number of times as the request arrives. Here, um, before starting of the application, resource allocation takes place. Here, decision for resource allocation, might happen during the application also, because application may need more memory, more processor, and application is requesting for dynamic resource. And here it does not provide elasticity. Elasticity means what? Rubber band. What is a rubber band? Rubber band is elastic, made up of elastic. You can stretch it, you can shrink it. Okay. That is elasticity. You can take more and more services, and you can just um, scale down or give back the allocated resources. That's elasticity. Here it has to provide elasticity because it's dynamic. And it restricts scaling means what? Increasing, decreasing is a scaling. Here you have to have a scaling. There is no resource allocation overhead. Here that overhead exists. And here resource one once allocated cannot be returned because it is statically made. Here immediately can be returned. This is suitable when you have predictable load pattern, and here when you have varying workload. Here it introduces under provisioning or over provisioning. What are they? We will study now. Here they does not impose any under or over provisioning. Okay, students, try to understand. Very important. I'll give you with an example this concept. All right, there is an hybrid approach as well, in which you have few static resources and few other dynamic. I hope it's clear. Suppose during lockdown, uh, many of the families they have stocked the commodity. If a family needs one bag of rice every month, they might have brought 10 bags, and then lockdown was lifted, and then due to storage problem they have this as over uh, overburden. It means they are overburdened with these bags. Another example is if the family require one bag, they have purchased only uh, suppose consider one bag has 100 kg. They purchased only 10 kg, and stringent lockdown rules were imposed further. Because of that, they were not able to go and get the resource more. What is the problem here? This is under storage, this is over storage, this is over storage, this is under storage. In both the cases, it is a problem. So you have under provisioning and you have over provisioning. Okay. So under provisioning means having less than required, over provisioning means having more than required. The same you can correlate with cloud resources. If you require one processor, if you are, you know, allocating five processor, it is like over provision. And if you don't take any processor, that is under provision. This problem exists in static allocation, not in dynamic, primarily because static is fixed and dynamic is uh, flexible. This is, look at here. If you consider again that lockdown example, here lockdown is lifted and still you have so much resources available in at home. Means you require only one processor and you have chosen five, and then it is over. And here also you can see sometime this is over provisioning. You don't need it, but you have allocated. Virtual machine sizing. So based on the requirement, you can go for the sizing of virtual machine, how many processors required, RAM and disk space. Okay, and then this is um, mm, this physical server and virtual servers, and your migration. This migration means from one virtual server, if it fails or some problem occurs, or if it is not fulfilling the requirements, you're moving on to next server. So that is about failure. When failure happens, you are moving from one server to another server. Students, any doubts in this chapter? From Monday, we will start Unit 2, Scaling in the Cloud. And please complete MCQ of this chapter and all the chapters. Chapter 1, 3, 5, 7, 8. Total unit 1. What I will do, I'll conduct an exam in the MCQs from this unit 1 next week. So you please mark all the answers, and if required, and I think it is required, we will discuss on Monday all the MCQs. And if time permits, we will start our unit 2, or else we will just discuss unit 1. So you can go through unit 1, any doubts, MCQs, everything, you please complete. Okay then, students, that's all for today. I'm signing off. Any doubt, anything? Okay, bye.